Hi everyone, so I just want to do a video on how I manifested my house. So it is kind of like a manifesting talk, kind of a video, but I know that there's lots of information out there about like how to manifest, like what to do to manifest. But I want to share my personal story with manifesting, my journey with manifesting, and how I've actually been able to manifest something in my life in the hope that you can kind of take something from this and manifest something for yourself in your own life. Um, and just kind of like the basics of what I did, but also like what I didn't do, and all that kind of thing. So I'm gonna try, this is totally like unedited. I'm going to try and time map how I came to be in this house that I absolutely love. That's just me. Like you walk into this house and it's like a reflection of me. There is nothing in this house that's not me. I absolutely love it. I love this place. And it all stemmed back to when I was pregnant. So I got pregnant. I found out I was pregnant on Mother's Day. So it was Mother's Day 2023. And I hadn't been with my partner long, but I knew I wanted a baby. So I knew like I manifested my child. Like I knew I wanted a baby. Um, and yeah, that came to be. Perfect, lovely. It became quite apparent after a couple of months that like we couldn't be together, like me and Amira's dad couldn't be together. Fair, it's all done. But the thing is, when it comes to houses, especially the rental house market, it's just so hard to find a place to rent. Or that's what I would tell myself. It's just in the reality that we seem to find, all we hear is like the rental market is ridiculous. You can't find a place to rent. If you do, it's just stupidly expensive. There's never any houses to rent. When one comes up, loads of people go for it. And that's always what I have heard within my reality. So in my mind, that is how I felt about it. And I thought, how am I going to get from here, from A to B? Like, how am I going to leave this situation that I'm in with a daughter, going from not actually paying rent. I wasn't paying rent when I was living with him. I had the rent of the shop and everything. I had a lot of overheads anyway. How am I going to afford the overheads of like the shop and everything plus a house on top? And I never use those words like I can't afford. Those words do not exist in my vocabulary because they are so against manifesting and what it's all about. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, being realistic, how am I going to have a place to live with my daughter? And this phrase would come into my mind quite often, and I would just repeat to myself, a secure home for me and Amira, secure home for me and Amira. And I was so hyper focused. So I didn't know how I was going to get a house. I just knew I was going to. I had to. Like there was no plan B. I erased all plan B from my mind. I had to have a house. We needed to have a house to live for ourselves on our own. I needed to do this for me, and a place where, and it had to be the right place. I wanted to move back to Cheadle. So I was living about a 20-minute drive. So I'd have to come in. My shop was in Cheadle, and every day I'd have to drive down the A500, the A50 in traffic all the time, there and back, there and back. And all my friends, family, my whole circle is in Cheadle, and I know that that is my home space. That's where I need to be. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I need a house, and I need it to be in Cheadle. But if I was to go on Rightmove or all the websites, they're just never there. And if the houses come up, they're just gone straight away. But what I then had to do is remove any limiting belief or any belief that I built up myself on what the housing market, rental market is. So I had to remove the belief there's no houses. I had to remove the belief that I won't get one, you know. I had to remove all that. So I then went through a process of trying by all means necessary, like, okay, people have, and I had to remind myself, there are people with houses. There are people in Cheadle that are renting houses right now. So they have been able to manifest a house where they live, albeit probably not consciously through manifesting, but there are people in Cheadle who rent houses, that live in these houses. There are also people that have saved enough so that they can get a deposit, so they can get mortgages. So those houses are being released. So I know that is a fact. That is true. And if those people can get a house, then surely it's within the realms of possibility that I can get one too. You know, it's nothing special. It's not like something that they're you know, lucky, they're born with, anything like that. It's not about lucky. It's within the realms of possibility. I can have a house too. So I removed every belief that told me that it wasn't possible or that it was going to be difficult. I think that's the key, is I removed all that thought that it's going to be difficult, and I replaced that with, well, they have it, so can I. And through doing manifesting my whole life, I knew the key is to remove the how, what, when. Remove that. And then change my focus to be, I'm going to have a house one day. Like, I know that I'm not just going to be like living in limbo, homeless. You know, I know eventually I'm going to have a house. So this is where I am now. This is my end goal. This is where I know at some point I will be. I know that there's no such thing as space and time. It's already happened. I already have a house. And all I have to do is release the how, the when from in between, and know that it's already decided that I will be here. I've made that plan. I'm going to be here. So I'd set my end goal, and then all my mind was then focused on is visualizing this house, because I thought, you know, I work psychically anyway. Surely I can just visualize the house that I'm going to be in. So I would then spend a lot of time just in my mind, like daydreaming about what my house is going to look like, using my imagination. I always say your imagination is the key to unlocking your reality. It's the key to unlocking your potential. Like, if there's going to be words written on my grave, it will be those words, just so everyone can read and be inspired. But your imagination is the key to unlocking your reality and unlocking your true potential. Everything is within the realms of possibility. If you can think it, you can have it. It will be in your reality. So let me try and bring this back. So I knew that that's where, and yeah, I would daydream about it quite often. I'd think about it. I'd plan how I was going to decorate it. This wall hanging behind, that used to be the wall hanging in my Reiki room. And I always knew in my head that wall hanging is going to hang in my living room one day, and I can see it in my mind. And every time that I'd be in my Reiki room or I'd be doing Reiki, I'd send a little thought out when I looked at that wall hanging, and I'd affirm to myself, that wall hanging is going to hang in my living room one day. I know it. I can see it. So then once I kind of had a focal point, I then started to expand on that and start to visualize the room as a whole. So I'd allow the imagination, I'd allow the image to come in. And in my mind, it would just be the same reel that I could see. And I'm sat on the sofa here. I can see the light's going to be coming in from my left. There's a lot of light that comes in from the left. So I know that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of light that comes in from the left next to my sofa. Directly opposite is where I'm going to have my TV, and the TV is on the wall. And my sofa is going to be like a cream light coloured chenille, I don't know how to say it, woven fabric. And I'm going to have like a Moroccan style carpet, woven carpet. And I can see it, and I knew it, and I could see it. So because I'm seeing that, because I know that that's going to come to me, you know, and I would spend a lot of time really focusing on that image, and that image would keep playing. She's playing in the middle, TV's there, I'm here, light is streaming in from the left, and I feel that the placement of the light was very important, because I knew that it's somewhere that's going to be set out like that. It's nice, it's bright, so I know that there's going to be sun coming up from there. So if I bring it back, like I say, this is unedited, so I'm just gonna have to chronologically map there. In the meantime, when I've even dragged these out, so Nikki from Magical Echoes used to come and do like goal setting at the networking groups. It was amazing, and I found one in my diary. And what is your goals for the year? And I put, have a beautiful birth and bring up my baby, a secure home for me and my baby, closer or in Cheadle. I think that's even before I knew that I was having a girl. But yeah, beautiful birth, bring up my baby, secure home for me and my baby, closer or to Cheadle. And in my head, I had an affirmation, and it would be a secure home for me in a mirror. It'd just be that constant affirmation. I keep saying it to myself. When I see angel numbers, my personal angel number, everything like that, I'd say it. I'd just keep saying it to myself in my mind, and I'd just keep affirming that to be true. So I went through, I'm trying to think now, because then once you've set the intention and you can visualize it, and you know that that reality has already happened, there is that in between, and we are humans, so we are going to want to control that in between and do all the things to push it there. So that's all about taking inspired action. So and we kind of blur the line sometimes, is that we think, well, inspired action by definition is, so you release the manifestation, you release what you want, and then you wait until little things pop into your mind to do something, like an urge to do something, and it just kind of comes from nowhere. And because we're humans, we can implant something in our mind and be like, oh, well, maybe I was divinely inspired, so I'm going to go down this route and this route and this route. So I went through every route that I felt I could find. So obviously I signed up with letting agencies, and I'd get notifications, things like that. And I also signed up with the local authority to see if I could kind of get like social housing, like a council house or something like that, because I felt, well, plenty of people do. And I was on Facebook, there's like social housing swap websites and things like that, and I could see that there's people with, like, you know, same age as me, with a kid, and they've got like new build houses, they've got all this stuff, and I'm hearing this from people, they've got like new build houses and things, and you think, if they can do it, then it's available to anyone, really. All these people, they have managed to get houses, even though in our mind all we're kind of being told is it's impossible to get a council house, you'll never get a council house, things like that. And I didn't end up with one anyway, but in my head I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to go down that route, because that's kind of what I was seeing a lot more of, is people that were able to like have these houses. So I went down that route, and it did kind of get to a point where I really wasn't going to be able to stay in that house much longer. So it was like, you know, I have to find somewhere. So, like, you know, the homeless thing. So I went down that route. So my priority banding, because I'm, you know, pregnant. I didn't have Amira at the beginning, but you know, pregnant. So you kind of like lower banding how it works, because the baby's not here in the physical yet. You're still classed as like a single person, so you're like way down on the list. And then as soon as I did have Amira, I moved up the list a bit, and I actually became like top priority. So it was like these houses would come up, and you have to put bids in. So I'd put a bid in, and I'd be like one of three, and then, you know, I wouldn't get it, it'd go to someone else. But it's funny, because even as I'm bidding on these houses, in my head, I knew that that wasn't the one for me. And even when one would come up, I'd look and I'd be like, but that's not my house. that's not my house. I know it's not, because it's nothing like how I visualized it. And I wanted a house that looked nice, you know. I wanted one that I didn't have to do loads of work updating, because I knew that I'd have so much pressure anyway, having a newborn, having the shop already and things like that. I knew that if I was landed with a house that wasn't like my vision, because in the vision I knew that the house was quite fresh. I knew that the kitchen would be fresh and white and clean, like new build style, you know. I knew that it'd look newish. And I'm looking at these houses that I'm bidding on thinking, this isn't anything like what I'm seeing in my mind. So why am I even going against what I'm believing? And I'm saying this to myself, and I know, yeah, I'm bidding on them, and I know I'm not going to win them. If anything, I don't want to, because I don't want that house. I want the one that I can see. So yeah, I'd bid, and then I'd get rejected, and it didn't faze me, because I knew my house was out there waiting for me. So there's a couple of things that I did every day to kind of keep that going. So like I say, when I see the angel numbers, I'd repeat my affirmation. And this is something that I've kind of gatekeeped myself, because I felt that if I told people, then it wouldn't work. So I kept this like very much to myself, this little method that I had. But I had a ring, and I used to wear it on my thumb every day, and it had lots of little stars on. I've asked for it, and they said that I can share it now, and it won't matter. But it had lots of little stars. It was like a ring that was made of stars, and I'd wear it on my thumb. And I feel like the thumb is like action, you know. So I'd wear it on my thumb, and every day I'd put that ring on, I'd put it on and say those words: secure home for me in the mirror. I put it on every day, and I'd affirm that to myself, and I would just feel it. And if I saw stars, I feel that that was my wish being solidified. If I looked into the sky and you could see Jupiter, it's like, if you look into the sky, there's always like a really, really bright star, and that's Jupiter most of the time. At the moment, there's one, and it's Venus. It's kind of throwing everything off, but usually you look into the sky and you can see Jupiter. And I know that Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's a really good planet to work with if you're wanting to manifest goals or bring something into your reality, or think bigger, you know, think bigger than, I'm not going to be able to get this house. I'm only worth this house. I'm not worth the house that I actually want. You know, if you want to think bigger, work with Jupiter, send your thoughts up there. So I did that. I was sending my thoughts there, but it's specifically this ring. Like, I know that I charged that ring with my intention to such an extent that every time I put it on, I felt it connecting, it exploding, it was working, you know. So yeah, intention. I'm just gonna have a swig. So it was the ring, yeah. So let me think too as well. Right in here, if you ever came to any of the workshops that I did at the shop, I used to do one around manifesting. So I do sometimes a new moon manifesting workshop, or just law of attraction manifesting workshop. And one of the activities that we did was making a little spell jar. So yeah, hands up if you made a little spell jar with me, and how many of you had your intentions come true. It's amazing. So I got rid of the spell jar because it was a bit bulky. My house is tiny, so I had to get rid of a lot of stuff. So I got rid of the jar itself, but I kept the little, we made these, it's like all the intentions in there, and then we put them in a jar with, so if you want to make your own, just one of those little like spice jars, and I put in Himalayan pink salt, because that's cleansing, dissolves negativity. I put a pyrite in because that removes energetic blocks from what you want. I put in black onion seed because that's very protective. It gets rid of any negative energy that's like around your manifestation. I think we put in a clear quartz because it amplifies intention, and some rose petals for love. I think that's it. And then we decorated them to make them look really pretty. So, you know, it shows that our manifestations have beauty. And then we sealed them, and we put our little scrolls in with our manifestations. I'm going to open it because I can't remember what it said, but I know that there's something about it in there. So, yeah. Oh, see, it's making me all emotional. Yeah. There you go at the top. A secure home for me and Amira. Financial security, because that was important. I'm going to live by myself. I don't want to be reliant on anyone. That's such a strong thing for me. I don't want to be reliant on anyone. Anything that I have, sorry, I've got something in my drink. I don't know what it is. Anything this is helping me get over the sudden burst of emotion that I felt reading that little scroll. Okay, it's cool. So it's got me all emotional. Hold on. Oh. So, sometimes if I feel emotional, I imagine a banana dancing or some fruit dancing in my mind to distract me from feeling emotional. So that's what's going on in my brain. I've got some fruit in there. Okay, I will manifest a secure home. Whatever was in my drink is on my finger now. Wait. A secure home for me and Amira, financial security and abundance, a successful spiritual business where I can do what I love, a trusting, loyal and loving relationship, a positive birth and a happy baby. Oh, see? I love that. That's so humbling to read, and yeah. So it's not even just the house that I've had. I've managed to, tick off those things on the list. Like, it's just your intentions, writing them down, bringing them into the physical. It's just so important. It just, even just writing it down, and this is what I said during the workshop. Write it down, put it in the jar, and put it somewhere that you're going to see every day. You don't have to open the scroll. You don't have to have these things written out. A lot of the time, you don't want people to see sometimes what you want to manifest. You want to keep it to you, because there's that feeling that sometimes if you share it, it won't happen. So I wanted to put these things in here and put it on your counter or put it somewhere that you're going to walk past and you're going to see every day. But subconsciously, every time you see it, you're solidifying that intention in your mind that that's what's going to happen. And you don't even have to remember what's in it, because it doesn't matter, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter if you remember it, because your subconscious remembers it. Your subconscious created those affirmations. You're writing down, like, in the depths of your soul, what you actually believe is going to happen, what you want to be true. And by putting it in the physical and writing it down and looking at it every day, your subconscious is remembering that whatever you do today in your conscious mind, wherever you go, those intentions are fueling everything that you do. And your subconscious is a part of you that links up with spirit. And it's through that connection with spirit, through the subconscious, that then divinely inspires you to take the actions necessary to get your manifestation. And I don't think I could have put that any better if I tried. That must have been channeled or something. But yeah, it's telling the subconscious links with spirit comes through the subconscious and then makes you make decisions that you think that you've decided to make yourself, but no, it's divinely inspired. So let's get to the part of how I actually get this house, because I haven't even touched on that bit yet. So solidifying the intention, I released the how it's going to happen, even though I was thinking that I was divinely inspiring by doing these things, bidding on houses that I knew weren't going to be mine because they looked nothing like the house I was visualizing. So eventually I just let it go. I stopped bidding on houses. I stopped caring. I'd have calls from like the team, like the council and stuff, to try and route me into a house and we're going to help you. Did you want this appointment and things like that? And I felt that I almost felt bad taking their time or taking that resource from someone that actually needed it. So I kind of came away from it a little bit. I didn't respond to the emails as fast because I thought, like, I'm taking that there's someone out there that hasn't that needs that. There's someone out there that the universe is working in that favor. I know it's not me. So kind of came away from that a little bit. Anyway, there was one morning, if we flip to it, this would have been this was February. This is actually, I think, February the 14th, I think. I think it was actually Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day, so Amira would have been November, December, January. It would have been 3 months old around Valentine's Day. I'm pretty sure it was Valentine's Day. And I put the ring on my finger in the morning and I say those words in my head again: secure home for me and Amira. And later on in the day, I get a call from my mum and she's like, hi, basically my stepdaddy does gardens. He's drove past and he's seen that one of his friends is working on some houses. So he's like, oh, hi, you know, and then his friend's like, oh, hi, come in, I'm doing up these houses. Do you want to have a look around? So it was one house that they made into 2 houses. So it's like, oh yeah, come have a look. And it was like completely gutted out, and it was basically just like the foundations and you know, plastered. It was all like, it needed a lot of work. It hadn't really been put in properly. The kitchen was in, but aside from that, if you were to look in, like all the building stuff was here. There was no carpet, there was no floor, it was just like cement floor. The garden was just one heap of rubble, so you couldn't see anything there, but it was just, you know, the frame. And he invited his friend in, and my stepdad's like, oh, you know what, like, this would really do my stepdaughter, she's looking for a house. And he's like, oh, well, does she want to come and have a look on Saturday? And I was like, no way, this sounds amazing, okay. And you know, and you get like really excited, like, oh god, this is like amazing. So I went and had a look on the Saturday, and I came in and there was 2 available, and I looked at this one and I walked in, and you know when you just know when you just know. So I walk in, and at first I'm a bit like, oh, I'm not sure, you know, is there going to be enough room for us, because it's, you know, it's small. And then I thought, actually, it's perfect because it's just me. So I'm not gonna, you know, but me and Amira, so I'm not gonna need loads of space, and I want something that's manageable. So I came in, I had a look around, and I saw the window here and how it would pan out. The sofa would be there, so that means that the TV is there. It'll have to be on the wall, because if it's there, then Amira will probably like push it and then it'll fall and carnage. So I knew, yeah, the TV's going to be on the wall there. The sofa will be there, because there's no other way that I felt it would work in my head. And the light's coming in from the left, and I'm like, no way. The kitchen's white. It's my house. Like, I've found it. This is it. Oh, so this isn't even the weirdest thing. So this is his house. You know, I looked at it, 17th. Yes, you can have it. That's not even the weirdest thing. That it just came out of the blue when I put. It's funny because even when I put that ring on in the morning, I had a good feeling. I had a weird feeling. Like, I had a good feeling. What I kind of forget to mention at the beginning is that I always used to say by the time Amira was 6 months old, and I've just realised now I left that bit out. So the plan was, ideally, if it would all just work to time, even though time doesn't exist, but if it, you know, ideally, I'd have Amira in November and I'd stay living with her dad long enough for, you know, for him to build a proper relationship with her, because that was important. Like, we get on really, really well. You know, we're still good friends, really good co-parents. We, you know, she sees him, all that. So for me, it's very important that they had a relationship, like a close relationship and a bond. And I knew at the beginning that those few months are quite crucial for creating a bond. Plus, I felt that I'd probably do with the help being like a new mom. I didn't need all the pressure of moving house and everything anyway. So when I realised that I wasn't gonna really move before having the baby, I'm like, no, let's have the baby. And then it would always be in my mind, by the time Amira is 6 months, we'll have a house, secure house for me and Amira. And in my mind, 6 months was the time. And it's funny because even when I was bidding on these houses before, I was thinking, well, I'm not going to get a house now because it's 6 months, you know. So in the February is when I found out about this house, and I was like, yes, I want it, you know, please, it's mine. So that was February. And they said, yeah, great. It'll take about 4 to 6 weeks for the renovations to be finished. and then it's ready to move in. So I was thinking, okay, that's going to take us to, so February, March, say April. You know, I'll be moving in April, maybe like April bank holiday or something like that. That was it. It was around April, but because the weather was, we had a really bad spell of weather, they weren't actually able to do the work that was needed. And they were like pulled in other things. They got other businesses, they were doing other things. So actually the building work like dragged on, and it took quite a while past that it was not 4 to 6 weeks, because they weren't able to actually come and do anything. The ground was all wet, and because there was a lot of work that needed doing in the back as well. So it just dragged on and on and on. And I'd just try and just forget about it and just be like, look, it's, you know, it's going to be mine one day. Forget about it. Don't think about it. But in the mind, you want to, don't you? So, but I still had that. So then I'm starting to like think, right, well, I know I've got the house now. So I'm going to expand from this living room bit and start working my way around the house. How do I want the place to look? Creating wish list, buying things that I needed. So I started doing all this. Luckily, in the meantime, we had the whole thing of my dad's house was up for sale, because we'd moved here. He'd moved out of his house, so my dad's house was for sale, and I ended up. I bought a sofa. This is funny because I actually bought a sofa because I went into Dunelm one day and they had like a whole outlet sale thing, it says. So I went in and I was looking around for the sofa that I could see in my vision. So, okay, I need that sofa. It's cream, it's woven, it's all this. So I went into Dunelm and I didn't see that sofa, but I saw another sofa. It's like a Chesterfield style, and it was a really good price. It was like £300 or something like that, reduced from like 700 because it was just a website return. It hadn't even been sat on. So I was like, okay, well, it's not the sofa that was in my vision, but it looks nice. It'll go really well. So I bought that sofa, got it delivered to my dad's, which was empty at that point, so we could just leave all the stuff I was buying for my house. I was just cramming in there. So I did, yeah, I moved all that there. Even though in my head I knew that that wasn't my sofa. So in hindsight, why did I buy it? It wasn't even in my vision, but I did. So in the end, lo and behold, I've got the call that my house was ready on, okay, let me rewind here. I hadn't finished with the sofa bit. But anyway, we can come back to that. So I got the call that my house would be ready on the 18th of May. I think it was a Saturday. And my house would be ready on the 18th of May. So it was ready on the 17th, but I could only go and sign for the keys and get the keys on the 18th of May. And it's just, when I look at that date, so my daughter was born on the 18th of November and my house was ready on the 18th of May. And that is exactly 6 months to the day of, wow, you know, you can't make that up. I said, by the time Amira is 6 months old, we will have a house. And the house is ready exactly on her 6-month birthday. I get that key. And I just think, wow, manifesting is just so real. Mind blown. It blew my mind. But at the same time, it makes you laugh because you think you're not surprised. If I can make that make sense, like I wasn't. I thought, wow, but I thought I'm not surprised because this is what I've been asking for. So I wasn't surprised, but it was just wow, amazing, and it still just blows my mind now. And it's one of those things that, you know, when someone tells you a story and you think, no way, wonder if that's actually true, or like, you know, how could that be true? That is just so synchronistic. That's so strange. And those things happen to you, and it's just like, wow. So going back to the sofa, because it's in my vision, so I knew that these things are coming. When I talk about divinely inspired, me going to Dunelm and buying that sofa wasn't me being divinely inspired. But in my mind, I was like, well, I've come to Dunelm anyway because I've got to fit out an entire house. So I'm obviously going to go and buy house bits. But this sofa is okay. It's quite nice and it's within my budget. Whereas all the other sofas that I was looking at were like, you know, £1,000. So it's within my budget. I thought about coming to Dunelm anyway, and really, that's not being divinely inspired so much. That's just walking into a shop and something's at a good price and you impulse buy. And that's all that sofa was. It was just a massive impulse buy. So when I was driving to Cheadle, was before I'd actually moved in. When I was driving to Cheadle one day, something in my head was like, you know what? Why don't you just go Next? Why never look at Next? I don't know why. I don't know if there was like a sale on or something. I like going for a mooch. Anyway, I'm like, oh, go and have a look in Next. Probably look at baby clothes or something like that. Anyway, I go to Festival Park. I walk into Next. Directly in front of me, as soon as you walk in, is this sofa. This beautiful sofa, the sofa of my dreams. X display reduced from £1,200 down to like 390. No, it wasn't even 300. It was like 360 something pound. I remember thinking, oh, that's the power of the 369. That's so it must have been like 369 or something like that. Because I remember thinking, oh, their power number is 369. But my sofa, I'm like, that is my sofa. That is the sofa that I've been dreaming of. It's in my mind. Yeah, I mean, it's a tiny bit of a shade darker, but after having a toddler, I realise now, well, I shouldn't have a cream sofa. Obviously, it's got pomegranate juice over it. It's got everything. Hummus, banana rubbed into it. So it's a good job I didn't have cream. But to think, you know, I walked into Next and it was just there, right in front of me. It like 75. I don't know the maths on that. 369, 75% off, and it wasn't even like, yeah, it was X display, but it wasn't like gross or anything. It was amazing, and I'm just like, wow, that is my sofa. So I bought it there and then. I'm like, I have to buy it there and then. So yeah, I bought it there and then I had this whole thing of like returning the Dunelm one. Luckily, I hadn't sat on it because it had just kind of been in storage. Returning that sofa, and then in the same trip, going to get the new sofa to bring that back. And yeah, I was just absolutely elated. It was just the most amazing thing. Like, I have my dream sofa, and when I tell you that that is the comfiest sofa you will ever sit on, the cushions are like this wide. It's absolutely massive. Yeah, I love that sofa. So, and it just like, it fits so well because it was meant for me. It was meant to be in this house. So now our living room, there is the banner that used to be in my Reiki room, fits perfectly behind my sofa that was in my vision. The TV is up there. The rug is like a Moroccan theme. Don't know, maybe I can show you. Like the woven rug. I already knew. I always knew I was going to have this rug. I'd already picked it. Everything, I could see it in my mind. And then when I went to Dunelm, I saw it, there's my rug. And everything is literally exactly how I visualized it. And it came to the point where I already bought everything. And when I actually got the keys to move in, I think it only took like 2 days and the whole house was set up. And I was ready to just live here. And I've just been so happy ever since. It's just changed my life. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add to that story. I was thinking I'm going to make this like 20 minutes long. It's not going to be long at all, but it's gone on to be really long. I'm sorry. But if there's anything that you take away from this, it's just, I want you to realize your absolute power and realize that the only blocks that we put in between are the things, the conditions that we have in our mind, the things that we believe to be true. Remove them, replace them with something else, and just trust and release the how, what, when. Release those things, because we only make assumptions on how long it's going to take us to get from A to B by beliefs that we have built over time, by things that have happened in the past that we think, okay, well, it usually takes people this amount of time to get to there, or in the past it's taken me this amount of time to get from here to there. And we use that as prediction for the future, thinking it's going to take me this long to get from here to there. Or but because it's done that in the past, this is how it's going to be in the future. And we make that map for ourselves. It's like we're in a car driving like 15 miles an hour, not knowing that if we put our foot on a little bit, we can go 60 if we want to. But if we've only ever known 15 miles an hour, that's all we're going to do. So it's realizing your ultimate infinite potential, realizing that everything that we want is within the realms of possibility. If I'm doing it now because I'm lucky. There's a place that like I'm obsessed with that in the future. I know I want to live there, you know, on to the next in the future. And I'm thinking, yeah, it might seem like so unattainable now, but there are people that have lived in there. There's people that have lived there now, and there's people that have lived there before that, and before that, and before that. And I can't just assume that they only lived there through luck, or maybe it was passed down to them, or something like that. We have to believe that anything can be possible because other people are able to do it. So instead of looking at, you know, what other people haven't been able to do or how hard it is to do something, think that there are the fewer people, or even more people than we think out there, that are able to live the life that we want or have the things that we want. So it's possible for you as well. There's nothing extra special about them. We're all special. We're all creator of source. We all have our own mind, our abilities, our uniqueness. So I think what I'm trying to say is your imagination is the key to your limitless potential. Your imagination can open so many doors for you if you can believe it. It can happen. Keep hold of that. If you're struggling with blocks in your manifestation because you're focusing on the how, what, when, knowing that those how, what, whens are based off beliefs that you hold from things that have happened in the past or things that you believe to be true, then release the how, what, when and recreate and allow the universe to take over so that you can start rewriting some of them beliefs. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I don't know how many times I usually say that in a sentence. And thank you for listening. And I would love to hear your experiences with manifesting. I have so many I can share. My car that I've got, the car that I absolutely love, I manifested that. It's my angel number. Even the insurance quote difference, when I did the insurance quote, it came up and it was my angel number was the difference in the insurance. If I needed any more confirmation that that car was for me, if I needed a sign more than the fact that the car model is my angel number, the insurance quote, the difference in between, was my angel number. And that was totally random, completely generated. So yeah, manifested that. Just so many different things. And I can do more episodes on them if you like listening to me waffle, or if you find them inspiring. But yeah, I would love to hear your stories as well. And thank you for listening. Sending you lots of love.